International Affair with Boss Lady, the beautiful Kat Dahlia here for the Woman on Top segment. We both moved to New York to chase our dreams, obviously. We both used to bartend. I was a bartender as well.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I bartended a little bit. I did a lot more like waiting,
I did
cocktailing.
I did it too.
We jump around.
Yeah, we do jump around. We're good with service. And I was okay. So what? There was something else. So we both used to bartend and waitress. Now we're both part Lebanese.
Following our dreams in New York.
And we both date gangsters.
And we both date gangsters. I knew it. I'm like, it had to be like some key component. Because that's like one of the keys.
Yeah, and want to be gangsters. But real ones, really.
Yeah, but real ones. But like,
have you grown out of that yet?
I feel like I don't know. Right now, I've just grown out of all dudes in general. I'm just like, not that I'm saying I'm going for, batting for the other team. Yeah, God only knows. But I'm just like taking a break from everything. Like, I'm just like, I just want to focus on me and what I need to do and just focus on making myself happy and getting my life just how I want it to be. And then I feel like then the right people, the right person is going to come into my life once everything's aligned.
You've been working now for a minute, obviously. So Crazy is the single, but it didn't just come out.
No,
it didn't just come out. Like, is that, how are you right now? How are you finding everything?
I'm good. You know what's funny is like, it's weird timing because it did come out like, I don't know, maybe February
more
or
towards the beginning of the year.
More towards the beginning of the year. But just now, in the past like month, it's just been like going everywhere. It's weird how sometimes these things sometimes these things just happen and they just start to finally trickle into different places and people start to hear it.
Yeah,
and
they get legs and they grow.
And they start and right now it's getting added in so many places and so many people are starting to hear it. And it was weird timing because the moment where you're just like, well, you know, you have those frustrating moments where you're just like, and then you just get a phone call. It's like, yo, it's blowing up here, blah, 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 blah. It's happening.
And you feel like you've kind of maybe yourself personally moved on from that sound maybe at certain points, but like this song's just picking up when you've got yourself in a different mind state as well.
It's strange. I mean, it's a relatable song. So no matter what, it's always going to be, you know, it's always going to be, I guess, relevant, you know?
You recently did a Twitter Q&A. And in it, I think someone asked you the difference between a gangster and a herb, as Americans say.
Man, and a herb.
Yeah, we say a herb in Australia. But you said 50 Cent was a gangster. You recently met him. You thought he was hot.
No, I said the difference between a man and a herb is 50 Cent. The difference between 50 Cent and my ex. Because I recently met him and he's like...
Talk to me about that. We're going to talk about boys for a second.
So, yeah, I was doing this interview.
Yeah.
And he was in the office. And I guess he came out and he just comes up to me. He's like, hey, what's up? It's nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, it's so nice to meet you. I'm like, do you like my song? He's like, no, I love it. I love it. Da, da, da. And we just were like chatting for like, he's so cool and just so smart and just down to earth and... He's
super
like
focused.
So hot.
Yeah.
He's like all man.
Yeah. Is he your type?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to like really get to know him more, but I mean,
physically?
From the looks of it,
yeah.
Pretty fly.
Yeah, see, we like the same type.
You know
and we get in trouble probably over and over and over. We would say earlier, like, the gangsters. Can you ever outgrow them as a woman, do you think?
I think so. I think that little by little, I'm kind of like outgrowing it, but I think that whoever, you know, the type of guy that I'm attracted to has to have at least a little bit of
edge.
A little edge to him, like a little like street smarts, like not so
I feel like
proper.
There's nothing worse than a guy that wasn't hard growing up and then wants to be hard at an older age.
Yeah, I don't know.
There would be nothing worse than that.
I don't even know what that even looks like.
Yeah, like a dude that was like kind of corny his whole life and then has to act a certain way because he's around you now.
But you peep it really quickly. I mean, especially like, you know, I don't know, like I'm pretty like a decent judge of character, so sometimes you just like kind of get that woof of just
absolutely
inauthenticity. You know, when I wrote that record, it was kind of just like an expression, and it was a venting, and it was also a healing. You know what I mean? Because so much, I've been through a lot of things, a lot of very rough and a lot of very dark things. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when you're in those types of situations and when you're in a relationship that is very toxic, they tend to become like hidden, right? So then I'm lying to everybody around me, and then I'm like hiding this relationship from everybody. So anytime I was toughing it out, making excuses, and I'm kind of going through the situation alone because I've boxed myself into this situation on my own, and I did it to myself. And thankfully, you know, coming out of it, I can look back and in hindsight kind of like realize all the mistakes I've made. And I think that's what it is. It's like strength comes in owning up to the vulnerability and owning up to the mistakes and learning from them, because if you don't learn from them, then they stay mistakes. Absolutely. And then you keep making them.
You covered A Great Big World, Say Something.
Yes.
Now, when I first heard that song, I had the same reaction you did. I was like, I remember reading somewhere that you felt like you were crying. You were in the corner
cried.
Of the room.
Oh my God, I cried.
That is an emotionally intense song. And when I heard your cover, I felt like I felt a difference in the way you approached it to all the other songs I've heard you sing. For the first time ever, you felt vulnerable in that song to me. Like I said, you have serious subject matter when it comes to relationships, your family, but there was always a toughness that came out in all your songs. Right. Like, I can overcome all of this. When you did that cover of Say Something, I was like, wow, she for the first time sounds like she could break.
Oh, thank you. I'm like tearing up already just thinking about that.
Because I felt it.
It was a weird time when the song came out too, because I was feeling so vulnerable in a situation that I was in. And I was in the studio, and they played it, and I was like crying in the corner, you know? And right then and there, I knew, I was like, yo, I want to do a cover to this song. Like, I want to sing this, you know what I mean? And thankfully, we put it together, and I feel like you really just pulled
every emotion out of yourself.
Yeah, it was an emotion. It was a really, really emotional time. I mean, that song is amazing. Like, I still say that song should win a Grammy, you know? Like, that song is like timeless to me, because there's never a time where not one person has felt that way. You know what I mean? Like, gosh,
talk to me.
Yeah, like that vulnerability, that total, you know, your heart's on the floor, and it's just like, you just know that like the pieces are not going to come together, but you still have this weird shred of hope that it's going to somehow come together, and you're just dying for that to be real, but you know it's not, you know, and it's so intense, but I love it. I love it.
Do you consider yourself a rapper or a singer or both? Because I've seen you described as a rapper so often, and I'm like, I don't know if I see her as a rapper. Right. Like, I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, it was kind of something that kind of just was kind of pinned on me. It was like, oh, she's a rapper because she kind of like took this whole 50 Cent like thing, and she did a spin on it, and like
there he goes again.
Her stuff is melodic. But I don't know. I think that it's just
more chanting almost. It's a whole different thing that you do.
Yeah, it's just like I guess there's some moments where it's almost like a sing talk. You know what I mean? It's like I just flow, I guess. Yeah. And then there are times where I really do get into singing and really, you know, hitting notes and all this. But I really just like to kind of like.
Do you freestyle? Can you freestyle rap?
I used to. When I used to get like stoned at a friend's house, like we would just like freestyle and just, but not so much
anymore.
Am I gonna
see you in a battle rap contest?
No, it was really like more for fun. Like, ooh, I got a feeling, I'm walking on the ceiling, and just stupid stuff. But then, you know, I take pride in sitting down and really taking my time. Like sometimes like Gangsta took me, I think I started it like a few days before, and I would just work on it little by little, and then there was that one day where it was just a breaking point, and I just sat down and I just finished it, and I just had it all done. And it's like that with some of the songs on my record, My Garden. It's coming out in January, the album. So happy. And some of those songs took like a few days to write, you know. Sometimes you can't just rush it,
right?
You know what I mean?